Lucifer and Lilith would get into an argument, as Lilith was tired of Lucifer not doing anything, simply laying back and let people do whatever they want. But Lucifer was too depressed to care and wanted to focus on his family. As Lilith and Lucifer began to yell more and more and more, baby Charlie didn't like this, and she instinctively crawled away from the noise, as she continued to crawl further and further and further away. As then she would crawl towards someone sitting down. By the way, in this timeline, Blitz would be born much earlier, because, in our timeline, this couldn't really happen. Timeline, the imps would be born way sooner, as Blitz would see Charlie and smile, as she looked familiar. Blitz didn't really know that she was royalty. I mean, she did look like Lucifer, but, Lucifer wasn't out much these days. There were a few statues and other things, but, if he saw Lucifer, he would recognize him. But he decided that it was probably just some baby on the street, so he picked her up and started to take her in and raise her. Meanwhile, Lucifer would become extremely depressed as his daughter. As Lucifer would look, he would never find Charlie, as Blitz would raise her far away. Not on purpose. Blitz was just a poor imp, and no one expected an imp of all people to have her. As Blitz would raise Charlie, he would try his best. He didn't have the most amount of money, so Charlie wouldn't grow up wealthy. But she did have a lot of power. And in this timeline, since Blitz would, steal stuff from places to make money, which we saw when he was with Stolas, and do things like that, she would become much more rough and tough, a bit more edgy. But she would still have a sweet personality to the people she cares about, kind of like Millie. As Charlie began to grow, she became more and more somewhat like her father, but at the same time, she still had that sweetness inside of her. As Blitz would be a good father to her, she would eventually grow up, as they would do odd jobs here and there for money, until Blitz had a plan to go to Earth. He was going to go and get a book. As then Charlie would say, maybe I can do that. I have a lot of magic. Blitz would say, maybe. If I show you this book, you think you can learn it? Charlie would nod, as Blitz would go and meet Stolas, just like in canon. However, things would be a bit different. In this timeline, when Blitz was adopting Loona, she would meet Charlie. As Loona would walk in, since Charlie was magical and could steal things better, and had a bright head on her shoulders, Blitz would actually have more money, just enough for a few more bedrooms. As then, Blitz would say, meet Charlie, your sister. She would say, you adopted a teenager? Isn't she gonna age out in a year? Loona would say, yeah, there's only one reason why someone would do that. They're into me. Charlie would say, no, he's actually a good guy. As then Charlie would start to sing, as Loona would say, shut the F up, as she would go to her room. Blitz would say, isn't she amazing? Charlie would go, she's something. As Loona and Charlie would eventually start to grow close. Not in a sister way, not at first, because, Loona was much older when she was adopted. But Loona would start to accept Charlie, and Charlie always accepted Loona. She just didn't like her attitude. One day, they're going out, and Charlie said, you forgot your human disguise. Blitz would say, what now? Charlie would say, oh my god, as she would snap her fingers and give Blitz a human disguise. Here. As Blitz would say, come on, Charlie. As Charlie would go on adventures with Blitz, go on to the human world and destroy some humans for money. It ended up going quite well. One day, however, when Blitz was hired to help Stolas would look at Charlie and say, oh my god, it can't be. Blitz would then say, what are you talking about? Stolas would say, never mind. As assassins would go after Stolas, just like in canon. But in this timeline, when Blitz runs off, Charlie would protect him. And Stolas would be kind of, upset that Blitz isn't protecting him, but he would continue to stare at her. She looked familiar. But Stolas would reconnect with her daughter, just like in canon, and everything would continue on like normally. However, as Charlie was walking away one night, Stolas would walk up to her and say, you got a second? Sure. As Stolas and Charlie began to talk, Stolas would say, I think you're a princess. Charlie would say, are you flirting with me? Stolas would say, no, not like that. It's just... Stolas would then take a deep sigh and say, listen, Charlie, this might be hard to hear, but I think you're related to Lucifer. As Charlie would say, I think you're crazy, as she would walk off. But that night, Charlie would be talking to Blitz, as she would say, Dad, where did I come from? Blitz would say, well, you crawled to me as a baby, remember? Charlie would say, yeah, I had to look into things. As Charlie would begin to search through her past. As Blitz would tell Charlie over and over again her backstory. Charlie had to find her real parents. She loved Blitz, and she considered him her father, but maybe she was the princess of hell. She had to find out. Charlie would shake as she decided to go to the mansion. As Lucifer's mansion should have had guards all around it, there was no one there. She went to the door and knocked on it as Lucifer answered it. As Lucifer would answer the door, he would walk out and see Charlie, as Charlie would stare at Lucifer. As they both looked into each other, they didn't say anything. They looked so alike. They could feel each other's energy. Lucifer would say, "You're finally back," as he hugged her. As then he would say, "Welcome home, Charlie." As then Charlie would begin to walk inside his home and look around. Lucifer would say, "I missed you so much." Charlie would say, "I've been raised by an imp, and well, he's been very kind to me. Would you like to meet him?" Lucifer would say, "The imp that stole you? He didn't steal me." As she would explain what happened, Lucifer would say, "So he saved you. I would love to meet him." As he would go home, he wouldn't be there. Charlie would start freaking out. Charlie would say, "Loona, what happened to him? Is that the king of hell? Don't worry about that. Tell me what happened." "He went with Fizz." "Well, he went around and bumped into him. We don't know what happened to him after that." Charlie would say, "He must be in danger," as she would run off with Lucifer. He would then say, "How are we going to find him?" Lucifer would say, "What do you mean?" "Oh, you were raised by an imp. That makes sense." Charlie would say, "What are you talking about?" Lucifer would then go, "Well, since you were raised by a kind imp and not a powerful overlord like me," Lucifer would say. Charlie would say, "Stop bragging, we don't have much time." Charlie would say, as in Lucifer would go, yeah, you're right. Just close your eyes and think about him." She would close her eyes and start to think about him, as then her heart would light up red, as she knew where he was. As she started to go there, so did Lucifer, as Lucifer would grab her and begin to fly there. As Fizz and Blitz were captured like in cannon, suddenly the wall began to tear open as Charlie and Lucifer came in. Blitz would then smile and say, "I'm right here." As then Charlie would say, "Dad," as she would fly and hug him. As Fizz would say, "What the heck is going on? Wait, is that the king of hell? What is happening?" "Oh, I raised Charlie, the princess of hell." "You did what?" Fizz would say. "How does that even happen?" As then suddenly Crimson would say, "Well, I'm effed, aren't I?" As then Lucifer would begin to beat him to a bloody pulp. As Stryker would try to escape, but as he was trying to run away, Charlie would fly in front of him and say, "So, you captured my dad, huh? I'm not gonna let that slide." Stryker would say, "A royal raised by an imp. Truly pathetic and hilarious. However, sadly, you're the daughter of Lucifer. I think it's time I end you and put an end to this monarchy once and for all." As he would pull out his angelic weapon and blast at Charlie, Charlie would easily grab it and push him to the floor. Charlie would say, "You missed." As Stryker would say, "I wasn't aiming towards you." As a bullet would fly right towards Lucifer, as Charlie would yell, "Dad!" As Lucifer would dodge at last second and say, "Wow, I could have dodged that way faster back in my younger years. I guess I'm getting old." As Stryker would say, "How? You dodged a bullet." Literally and figuratively. But yeah, you're going to be executed. As Lucifer and Charlie saved Blitz, Blitz would say, "Thank you," as she hugged Charlie. As then she looked at Lucifer, Lucifer would say, "So, you've been watching my daughter, huh?" Blitz would say, "Yeah." As then Lucifer would slowly walk up to Blitz. As Blitz would look up scared and say, "I don't want any trouble, man." Lucifer would take a deep breath and say, "Thank you for raising her." As then he would hug him. As then Charlie would hug them too. And Lucifer would say, "I can't let my daughter live in that place though, so I'm giving you a mansion. Paid for. Always." Blitz would say, "You really mean it?" Lucifer would say, "Yes." As Blitz would say, "Hey, Charlie, would you be mad if I..." Charlie would say, "Don't flirt with my dad." Blitz would say, "Oh, okay, fine. Besides, I have two dads now, and not that way." As then Blitz and Lucifer would both laugh. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Hope you all enjoyed this video. I know I did. There'll be some more love stories coming up. I say more like this one was one. This was not one. Well, fatherly love, you know, like you love a parent. I guess it was kind of a love story. But yeah. I just want to say that, well, I really appreciate you all being here. And next video will be one. So, you know, I gotta, like, celebrate the month. You gotta get... And also, happy Pride Month. I know a lot of corporations are turning our backs on us because of who's in the White House right now and stuff like that, which honestly, I never liked the corporate side of it, but I've always loved, people being more accepted. And if that leads to people being accepted and people being loved, then, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? I'm not for, like, the corporate machine or anything, but you got to do anything for people to be accepted. And if you didn't hear the news, there was a hate crime against Jonathan Jones. Sadly, he did not survive. So, yeah, that's why it's important forever for us to stay together, for us to love each other, and for us to be with each other, And, I don't like to get political, especially on this channel, because this channel is not that. This is just a nice what-if channel. But when people literally are just put away in the worst way possible, I feel like it's up to me to say stuff about it. You know what I mean? It's up to me to be like, hey, that's wrong. Especially when it's this, because a lot of the characters in the show I do are that, and there's a lot of people that are that, and it makes people scared. I mean, heck, I would be scared, If I had, like, a boyfriend right now, I would be scared, like, to go out. I would be scared to do stuff, and that's wrong. You should not be scared, you know what I mean? And that's what this is all about, showing how we shouldn't be scared, showing how we should be accepted and loved. And that's why a few more videos will be about this. I will post a lot of shorts, a lot of Pride shorts, and maybe a few videos on this month, but yeah. Also, there'll be a lot of normal videos, you know what I mean? But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know I did. Love you all so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. It really means the world to me. And I want to start a hashtag. Jonathan Jones was... No one should have went through what he went through. I want to do hashtag he deserved better. Anytime you see a news about him, anytime there's a video about him, put hashtag Jonathan Jones deserved better. Love you all. Peace out.